Hi, this is Todd Sullivan, co-CEO of Cannapreneur Partners, and this is a new series we're starting, so the Cannapreneur Partners News Break. Maybe we'll call it the CP News Break, for it's easier to speak about that way. But just kind of update viewers on timely items in the cannabis industry, what's going on in the legal front, studies, medical front, sales front, just kind of a general informational session. We'll try and keep these videos for 3 to 5 minutes long. So they're not taking up your day, but give you enough information to hopefully you know a little more today about cannabis and what's going on in the industry than you knew yesterday. So I think obviously the big news we need to talk about is the election and what happened with the votes. In every single cannabis measure passed, which was the first time that's happened. And while the nation can argue back and forth whether they're left or right or who they're voting for, it's pretty clear that they agreed unanimously that the legalization measures that were up should be passed. The big one was New Jersey. New Jersey has legalized cannabis. The immediate fallout from that was immense pressure on Andrew Cuomo, not Mario. I'm dating myself. Andrew Cuomo, New York. We've been saying for a long time that even if the federal legalization doesn't move forward in this year or next year, that legalization is still going to move forward across the U.S. because states are going to be desperate for tax revenue due to COVID and the shutdowns and the things that have happened with that. And the immediate reaction from New York State when New Jersey legalized was Mario Cuomo saying, we have to legalize cannabis in the next year in New York State. Right now, he is bleeding tax dollars for cannabis into Massachusetts, now into New Jersey, into Vermont, into Maine. All of New England is totally turning legal on the adult use side, except for New York. And the hundreds of millions of dollars in annual tax revenue that are created from this business in New England are staying right now in New England states and not going to New York. And no matter what your politics are, Cuomo is pragmatic enough to realize that with the population he has in his state, he could be generating $200 to $300 million a year in excess tax revenue to the state at a time when, if we're being honest, they have to be desperate right now. They have to be literally desperate. So the other big measures that passed was Arizona, Montana legalized adult use cannabis. Mississippi voted to legalize medical, and South Dakota became the first state to do both medical and adult use on the same election. So that was very, very good. Right now, 1/3 of the U.S. population lives in a jurisdiction of legalized cannabis for adult use, and 70% of all states have embraced cannabis for medical use. These are big numbers. So when people think about the reversal of cannabis going from legal to illegal, I think people need to realize that 70% of states have it in one form or another. And so that's not something that goes backwards on. We haven't seen that since Prohibition, and Prohibition was a colossal failure, and even politicians will acknowledge it was. And the Prohibition on cannabis has been a colossal failure, and it's marching across the country, state by state by state right now. Regarding the American public, 67%, this is according to Pew, so it's a reputable poll, 67% of Americans feel cannabis should be legal, and 91% of Americans feel cannabis should be legal for medicinal purposes. Think about that, 91%. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there's probably maybe 1 or 2 other issues out there in which 91% of the US public feels the exact same way. That's a stunning number, it really is. And if that isn't proof that America wants cannabis legalized in their states, I don't know what's gonna convince you. Even political parties, we know the Democrats have been pushing legalization, but a clear majority of Republicans believe cannabis should be legal. Again, this is according to the Pew Research poll. So this isn't, these aren't issues in which you have a small minority of people pushing an agenda or pushing a product. You have 91% of the American public wants medical, almost 70% wants adult use, and even a majority of both political parties want cannabis legalized. So it's only a matter of time. In this election, it was a little disappointing that more measures didn't make it to the ballots for cannabis, but the fact that it was a clean sweep, and we're talking 60 to 70% votings for, we're not talking a 51-49 vote. We're talking clear majorities of the populace. I don't know if the point, 62% of Arizonans supported it. 81% of residents support cannabis, including 76% of Republicans in these polls. This is a poll after poll continues to tell us that this isn't a situation, and this is something that I think more people need to understand, that this is an issue that crosses party lines, crosses race, ethnics, anything. No matter how you do it, the majority of people want cannabis legalized. So we're very thrilled with the votes that came out. We can't wait for the next election cycle to get more in there, and we can't wait to see what happens between them, with state legislators perhaps taking the ball by themselves and saying, hey, we're going to vote to legalize this, instead of waiting for these elections and polls that way. They might just take the ball by their horns, kind of like what Vermont did, and just go ahead and legalize it. So we'll wait and see what happens, but we think that things are picking up, and they're picking up an increasing speed in the legalization front, and we're very, very pleased about it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.